What's good, peeps? Thanks as always for passing by the channel. Much appreciated. Hit that subscribe button if you guys are new. I just got sent a question by email, which I was going to leave until the next Q&A at the end of the month. But I know what I'm like. By the time the next Q&A rolls around, I would have forgot the question. And it's a good question. And I do want to get your take on the question. The question is Eddie Hearn the most powerfulest man in boxing? Man or woman? Person in boxing? First things first, I don't even know how you quantify or what being the most powerful person in boxing means. Is it the guy behind the scenes that cuts all the checks, the guys that we don't really know about, the guys that we don't see or hear? Is it the person with the biggest stable? Is it the person that, I don't know, has the boxer that makes the most money? Is it the person with the best TV contract? I don't even know how you were to start quantifying being the most powerful person in boxing. I remember, I don't know, it must have been ESPN about 4 or 5 years ago. They did their list. I think they did their list of the top 50 most powerful people in boxing. And number 1 and 2 were Floyd Mayweather and Al Heyman. I think Floyd was number 1. Al Heyman was definitely number 2, right? Those two are always linked. So if you were to ask me this question, this exact question 3-4 years ago, without even blinking, without even thinking, I would have said Al Heyman, right? Just because we knew, or we assumed, or I think we knew that he had literally most of the top boxers in America all signed to him, all of them. And not just in America, but he had a lot of rights and boxers in the UK as well. Remember, Amir Khan was signed to him, James DeGale signed to him, Chris Eubank Jr. signed to him, Lee Self. So there's a lot of UK boxers that were signed to him as well. But I guess his biggest commodity, right, was obviously Floyd Mayweather, who at the time was just, raking it in. Plus, he had a number of other top American boxers. So 110%, I guess, and I'm not even sure, again, there's guys behind the scenes that cut the checks that we don't really know about, but 110%, that answer 2-3 years ago, or 4 years ago even, would have been Al Heyman, without even thinking. That answer today could be Al Heyman, right? I don't think, in fact, I know he doesn't have the boxers that make the most money anymore, right? But he's still nonetheless got a lot of boxers that are doing very, very well. Plus, obviously, he has PBC, and he has a deal now with ITV over here in this country that show the PBC fights as well. So Al Heyman is definitely up there. When you think of the person that has the boxer that makes the most money, that's obviously Oscar De La Hoya, because Canelo is the number 1 drawer in boxing, right? People might say AJ, no, Canelo. That deal with DAZN, I think, says it all. What is it, 365 million over, 11 fights or something, 10 fights. That's it, right? But Golden Boy don't have the same stable they used to have. They don't seem as powerful as they used to be. They've got Canelo, and then the drop-off is quite big. They've still got some good names up and coming. I think if Ryan Garcia could develop, he's going to be a superstar, a pay-per-view star, because he ticks every single box, right? He's a good-looking kid. Then you got fighters like Munguia and Virgil Ortiz, but it's not the same stable. When I think of Eddie Hearn, this is the guy now that has the number 2 biggest draw in the world in Anthony Joshua. But unlike 3 years ago, he now has a stable in the US, right? So before, it was predominantly, all of it was UK based, right? It was still good shows in the UK, but it was only UK based. Now, his foot is firmly planted in the biggest market in the world, which is America. He's putting on shows in America. He's got some decent names, maybe not the names he would have hoped to have signed with this DAZN contract, but he's still got decent names nonetheless. You think of the likes of Devin Haney, decent name. Obviously, Morris Hooker lost recently, but that was a decent name. So he's got a decent stable of fighters in America, which I think is going to grow. He's obviously got the DAZN contract, and he's got the Sky contract, 2 massive contracts. So he's making money both sides of the pond. And now, obviously, with this Saudi Arabia thing, you think that if anyone can maybe cut a check to have regular boxing in Saudi Arabia, it's Eddie Hearn. So Eddie Hearn seems to be milking money everywhere. The 2 biggest markets, UK and US, and the biggest emerging market in terms of that region over there in Saudi Arabia. So just based on that, I'm trying to think of where Eddie Hearn was in that list that I mentioned 4 years ago. I think Eddie Hearn was in the top 6 or 7. Since that, 4 years ago, I mean, it's fair to say he has grown immensely, immensely since then. Think about it. There was no DAZN contract when that article came out. I need to try and find the article. There was no DAZN contract. There was no talks about fights in Saudi Arabia. AJ wasn't as big. Even though he's lost, AJ is still massive. And he's still got other big names as well from a British standpoint that are now emerging. I mean, Dillian White's now a big star. You think of the top 10 heavyweights, and he's got Usyk, the co-promotion. Joseph Parker's with him. Obviously, I just mentioned Dillian White. I mean, other heavyweights that I know there's some sort of co-promotion to, like Hrgovic and Michael Hunter. It's a very, very good stable. But again, what defines being the most powerful person? Not sure. Not sure. But if it's a case of TV contracts and cutting checks, if Eddie Hearn isn't number one, he's definitely in the top three. Definitely in the top three. What do you guys think? Let me know. Peace.